Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And once again, welcome to the back of the range. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 228. My guest on this episode is Jackson Suber. He is currently in his senior season at Ole Miss, where the team just finished up their strongest fall season in years. They pulled off a clean sweep at the White Sands Collegiate in the Bahamas, team title for the Rebels, and individual title for Jackson. Jackson, like myself, is a native Floridian, so we had a lot of fun talking about his start in the game in Tampa at his home club of Palmacia. We spoke about his experience at Ole Miss, what led him there, and we also talked about the PGA Tour ranking system, where he is currently ranked 8th, and how he plans to take advantage of that opportunity when he someday makes the jump into professional golf. Also, Jackson and I decided to invite listeners to submit some questions via Instagram. Several of those questions found their way into this episode. So after you're done listening, if you hear your name and your question that was posed to Jackson, shoot me a DM on Instagram and I will send you some free merch from the back of the range. Let's get started. Jackson, you're at the back of the range. How are you?
Doing great.
Appreciate you stopping by. I know we've seen each other at several tournaments throughout the years, bouncing around places like Jones Cup, where I will see you again next year in February. We are trying to keep our minds occupied during this off season. So we just came off of a really good fall with the Rebels. How are you? First of all, how are you keeping sane without any more tournaments to play in? What are your plans the rest of the year?
Just playing golf at home, trying to get better, and playing with friends at Palmacia and in some warm weather down here. This is the best time to play, so you gotta take the opportunity down here.
You're trying to just alienate yourself from all the listeners right away. Love it right off the bat by saying I'm in South Florida. I'm in Florida. I'm in the Tampa area playing golf at the time where everyone is trying to get the hell out of the snow, and you're just throwing that out there in the first 3 minutes of the episode, saying I play golf every day in Florida. It's a bold play, Jackson. Let's see if it works out for you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about your college career. You're a senior at Ole Miss. A lot of the players that I've seen throughout the fall season, especially these last couple of tournaments, I heard a lot of comments about I'm kind of burnt out. I'm kind of tired. I think a lot of people were coming off of that really busy 21 season. And you pick up a win in your very last tournament of the fall at White Sands in the Bahamas. So we'll talk a little bit about that tournament, but how have you kind of felt this last month coming into the final, couple tournaments? How do you fight off the fatigue? How do you fight off just kind of the burnout? Did you experience any of that?
Not particularly. I knew that I was going to take some at least a week or two off right after the Bahamas. So kind of still had the motivation to work hard and stuff, and knew that there was a break ahead of me and that I would have some time off and try to give it up my all with my team for the last couple events.
So do you change up, and I guess this is something immediately that could be a takeaway for people listening, when you're kind of getting to the end of a season, a string of tournaments, a string of rounds that you're playing, do you kind of change up any sort of maybe practice habits to maybe not tax your body as much or just kind of keep things light? Do you change anything going into the end as opposed to maybe starting a season?
No, just maybe try to play a little more.
Okay.
Because not trying to change anything with your swing or anything dramatic like that. Just kind of keeping your mind fresh and playing golf and staying ready.
We'll talk about, what led you to Ole Miss, but I'm guessing this is something that comes from the top down. It's not just you as a player or you and your teammates trying to decide how do we kind of close this season out. But your coach at Ole Miss, talking about what Coach Malloy does to try and keep things light with the team, knowing that everyone's kind of, not running on fumes, but the gas tank is certainly not on, you're not 3/4 or full tank at this point.
Yeah, he's been awesome. in the fall, he gave us some time to go to the football games too, and gave us some days off there, and then kind of let us reset our mind in between tournaments, and then we'd work pretty hard in the week leading up to it, and get our work done before we got there and be ready to play.
Now, I know you have one more tournament in 2021. We will talk about that a little bit later. But as we've already mentioned, you're in South Florida right now, and it's so nice. I got to be honest with you. I don't get a lot of them on the podcast. Normally, it's just me being you're a native Floridian, aren't you?
You brag to everyone else, but now you can't brag.
I love it. I'm like, cool.
Living the same dream.
I know. I'm gonna basically just like diffuse and push all of that attention that I get for being there's a Florida guy. Great. I'm just gonna push that over on you, and we can just shoulder equal weight of this during the episode. You're a native Floridian. Now you grew up in Tampa, so you get a little bit of the colder weather. You don't get as much of the ridiculousness that I get here on the Southeast coast, but Tampa, Florida, I guess, my typical question of how you get into the game of golf, that's kind of out the window right now. How do you not get into the game of golf when you're a native Floridian?
Yeah, there's a lot of options, and the weather's perfect, so there's really no reason to not play.
Now,
recreationally or competitively.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm guessing the parents, friends. I mean, give me a little bit about childhood golf, getting in Florida for you.
Yeah, my dad played, and I think I started to play when I was 6 or 7. I just do like a clinic up at my club, and then I started doing like lessons with 3 other kids, and we'd ride around with the pro and play holes and hit balls on the range, and kind of made it fun. And then just started to get more and more into it competitively as I went on, and more serious about it.
So typically, yeah. So this is like the typical start for a kid growing up in Florida. You're obviously fortunate to be a member of a place like Palmacia, which has so much history at that place, especially when we talk what we're going to talk about, the fantastic tournament there that's held every year, the Gasparilla. But it's such a great environment to obviously play along with friends at the club, and you do the junior clinics, and then maybe we do the little junior tournaments. And I'm always curious, when did it become just something you did with your buddies? Because you can go play Little League and you can go play basketball and other sports, but when did it turn into something that you were getting good at, and then B, also you enjoy the competitive aspect of it as well?
I think kind of right on the verge of high school, 8th, 7th grade was when I started to realize that I could maybe play at a D1 college school, and even maybe in the SEC. And that was kind of, it took some time to realize, but eventually figured it out and kind of just kept trying for those goals.
Tell me about Henry B. Plant High School, public high school, and really kind of an old school Tampa area. I mean, it's been around since 1927. Lots of history there. Tell me about high school golf.
Yeah, we had a good team.
Yeah,
pretty much every year we were there. My freshman year, I think we got 3rd in states, and then we got 2nd states my second year, and then fortunate enough to win my junior year with my brother on the team too.
Nice.
He plays golf at Troy. He's a sophomore there, and that was a really cool experience. And we had some players like Robbie Eish, Gunnar Rainey, Brad White, some people that just paved the way. We had to play golf dynasty for a little bit.
How now looking back at it, and this is kind of something that typically, it's, you have a lot of elite players that have been on the podcast, and, whether they've gone to a private school or if they've gone to a more of an academy, or golf really wasn't, a big sport at their high school, where they were kind of outliers. Maybe they didn't have a strong team behind them, and they just were, okay, that's the golf stud, and he's going to move on. And nice when he was here, but now he's gone. You actually have been in a really solid and successful team environment for quite some time. How much do you think that helped you as you moved on to Ole Miss to look back and say, okay, I've been on a successful golf team. I kind of know what to expect when I go to an SEC school.
I wasn't near the best player when I first got there. And so kind of it wasn't wasn't easy.
Right.
Still had to. I mean, it's pretty nervous my freshman year trying out. I think I was more nervous in high school golf freshman year than any other time I can think of in competitive golf.
Really interesting.
So, but it which was good. You learn how to deal with those nerves because even if they're different, a lot less important scenario, you still have them.
So you're saying a little more nerves trying to make that high school team as opposed to going into an SE school like Ole Miss.
Maybe at that time,
Right.
I hadn't got as comfortable with my golf game and figured out how to deal with those kind of things yet.
So Palmacia, that's where you kind of cut your teeth. That's where you learn the game, and this is just an incredible facility. I guess now everyone thinks you got to hit it far, you got to bomb it. It's that's the style of golf that seems to dominate the headlines. And I obviously when people think of college golfers, they think of them just kind of launching it as far and as high as they can, then just go find it. Well, that is not going to work at Palmacia. I've played there. I've played in the Gasparilla. This is a place that what is it, 6,300, 6,400, and everything is just tight and tricky greens. Tell people about Palmacia. If they're going to play their first round there, they've never seen the place, what would they expect there?
If they start hitting it left, they'll expect go reach in the bag and grab another one.
Okay.
I think it's the first 6 holes have out of bounds left. And there's always room right on the whole course, and they have these trees. I don't know what kind of trees they are, maybe oak trees or pine trees. And if you hit in the right, you'll find yourself in the trees, but left is out of bounds normally. And you gotta hit a Palmacia punch, we call it. Just
Palmacia
punch it back into the
okay.
Punch it back into the fairway and try to make a par. But the greens are really tricky too. The complexes, and for being a shorter course, I mean, if it was 7,000 yards, it would be impossible because the green complexes are so small and so much going on. We'll mess around sometimes and hit shots from 180, 190 in these greens. We realize how tough this course would be.
Interesting.
If it had length.
And just for the record, you're mentioning OB left on the first opening holes. Do you play a draw or do you play a cut?
I play a draw. So
you play a draw on a golf course where you grew up and the draw is basically death. So has anyone how did that happen? Has anyone tried to, obviously that might be a little surprising to people, but they would think that when you started playing, because of where you started playing, you would automatically say left out of the bag.
Yeah. I mean, my grip's really strong. It looks like I'm kind of driving a Kawasaki or something, but, so there's not much cut in me, but,
okay.
I'll just start up the right a lot and just if it maybe hope for a little push if I mishit it or just a good solid draw. I'm definitely not aiming up the fairway on every hole. I'm kind of hitting a sling.
Okay.
Slinger.
All right. Love it. I play a draw too. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've done
yes,
as
sir.
well. Oh yeah, that's what I've done as well. Just, flip it over and we'll be fine. Just pick up an extra few yards.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We have had people on the podcast that have been fortunate enough to play and find success at the Gasparilla Invitational. This is really one of the more popular mid-am and senior events leading into the season. Again, benefiting from the weather in South Florida. It's kind of a mid-February. Golf is important at that tournament, but there's also a big, massive social aspect of it. And, Nick Macario was just on the podcast. He's played it. I'm thinking about all the seniors that have been on the podcast. Yeah. Gene Elliott and Chip Lutz, and just it's a very popular event. Everyone escapes the cold, comes down to Florida, and I believe you have at least a funny story or two of being there during the tournament. So elaborate what it's like for a college kid or even a high school kid to be there during the Gasparilla.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome just to take in. I mean, that's the best. I mean, that course is always in good shape, but they take the greens from being 10.5 normally to 11, 12, and stuff starts changing out there quickly. It seems to always get a little colder, and the wind starts kind of pumping through there when the tournament is. But it is awesome, the social aspect and just the the fans. And I mean, there's 400 or 500, maybe even I think it's just under 1,000 people watching the last day. I mean, you don't get that unless you're at a USAM or something like that. And I mean, that's incredible especially for mid-am golf. I mean, it really is a special tournament, and they do a great job with it. And I wish I could play, but I'm not 25 yet. So
yeah, well, and I know that as a college student, you probably don't have a lot of experience as to what it's like to go somewhere where there's free beer. But do you think maybe the beer tents and the food that they have scattered around the course, do you think that has anything to do with the fact that a lot of fans come out for an amateur tournament?
I don't think it turns anyone away.
There you go. Okay, well said. Yeah, I've seen that. I've actually played in it once. I don't want to brag or anything, but I do at least have like a top 30 finish in my
cut made.
I did make a cut at the Gasparilla, so it's pretty impressive for a podcaster. But now you've caddied there, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I caddied for Parsi Alley stays with me every year, and I caddied from last year because it was snowing up in Mississippi, and I came home to play some golf, and my flight kept getting to push back day after day, and I ended up getting on the bag for him. And it didn't go well, so I don't think I'll be invited back. All right, we had fun.
Okay, so Parsi Alley stays at your house for the Gasparilla.
Yes, sir.
This is fascinating because now we've bridged the gap to another former guest here at the back of the range. Actually, very recently, I had him on the podcast because I wanted to talk to him a little bit about this freak injury he had and how he's come back from it. And actually, he's having a good.
I think this was his first tournament back.
Oh yeah, I think it was too. So, how did you and your family get to know Parsi Alley?
I met him at the Jones Cup. I think the first year I played when I was a senior in high school. And it was just kind of like, hey, maybe we should play around before you come up, because it was a year. I think it was a year he'd won the mid-am, and he was going to play everything that year.
Yeah.
And he was playing all the tournaments, all the mid-am tournaments too. And I was like, we should play a practice round. And we ended up playing with him and Herbie Akins. I don't know if you know him. He's another mass guy. He runs with the Macario crowd and all them. But I love the mass guys. But we ended up playing, and then just became close. He came close to my family too, and then after that, he stayed with me since.
So you're on the bag for a guy like Parsi Alley. You get to learn quite a bit from someone like him. Really, any of these elite mid-ams, especially just being around at a course like that, where club selection, course management. I mean, that's something that when you're a young player, that maybe isn't the first thing you learn. You learn how to hit, how to work on the golf swing. You learn short game, but it seems like mental approach and course management is something that maybe doesn't get that much attention. You basically get to study from him while you're working for him.
Yeah, it was very interesting. He's helped me out a lot too. He helped me out that week. I was kind of struggling a little bit, and he was like, go out there and just hit shots. Like, try to have fun with not have fun while you're out there, but hit shots that are interesting. Don't just try to hit a perfect straight shot. Like, maybe say I'm gonna hit a 15, 20-yard draw into this hole and kind of just free up your body and give yourself more excited to hit the golf shot. And it helped out a lot.
Okay, so what he's kind of communicating to you is, we as golfers get so bogged down into mechanics and just thinking that every shot has to be perfect and all your trajectory has to be perfect. He's basically saying, go play golf shot instead of just golf swing.
Yes, sir. And I guess it's interesting to come from a mid-am because, I mean, they're out there. I mean, their sole purpose is having fun out there.
Right.
They're not trying to pay any bills or win any college. I mean, they want to win, but they don't have college pressure or professional pressure on them. So it kind of made me think about it and think, okay, me and all the other college guys are playing for fun too, but there's that other added aspect, and it kind of made you figure that out, that maybe you need to have some fun with it if things aren't going good, not try to be a robot.
Exactly. Well, it keeps the mind fresh, and that's important. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot or get anyone else in any trouble, but has anyone snuck you a beer at at Gasparilla Invitational in your history there?
No, sir.
Okay, good answer. Not sure I believe it, but good answer. Love it. Okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Paul Messia later on in the episode, but you're at this time where you're playing. Obviously, you have a great high school golf career and playing junior tournaments, and anyone at that level is going to get noticed by big D1 programs. When does, I guess, the recruiting process happen for you, and then when did Ole Miss come into the picture? Was that just where you wanted to go right off the bat, or was there other programs that you were looking at? How did kind of that process go for you?
Yeah, I probably started talking to schools maybe later in my freshman year of high school, and kind of looked close to home at some of the schools here, and they didn't have much interest in me, so kind of moved on to the SEC schools, which that was my whole goal. Really, was to play in the SEC.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's the best conference out there, and all the schools do so much for the conference, and the schools do so much for their athletes that it's hard to you're going to get better playing at one of those schools. And
right.
Ended up looking at, I think I visited Auburn, Alabama, and Ole Miss, and I just narrowed it down to Ole Miss. I like the campus, the coaches. I mean, Coach Malloy has done incredible things, helped out so much, and it was just a good fit.
You mentioned the campus. Now, this year's got to be, I mean, not just great success for you guys this fall, but I'm guessing you're especially enjoying the campus environment now that, we're kind of on the tail end, hopefully, of COVID, where the campus is opened up again. Anybody that knows anything about college football knows that Ole Miss is the place for a tailgate and the place to just enjoy the college football experience. Ole Miss hasn't lost at home this year. He went 7-0. So I'm guessing being on campus is a pretty good time right about now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's fully open since COVID, and the Grove has thousands of people in there, tens of thousands, and it's an awesome game day environment. I'd tell anyone on here to go check it out. I mean, it is, especially if it's playing your teams. You need to go there. I mean, it is an experience.
Okay, so typical day walk. I've never been to a tailgate at Ole Miss. You've never invited me, so that's hurtful. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you're invited now.
Sweet,
can't use that.
Got it. We're going to leave that in the episode. So how walk me through a typical Saturday. I mean, does it start even earlier? I mean, there's got to be some prep on a Friday, right? I mean, give me the student's perspective of a Ole Miss football Saturday.
So let's say it's a 2:30 game. You go to the Grove about 3 or 4 hours early.
Okay.
Before the game, and that's the area on campus where there's it's like a bunch of trees, kind of like a little park, and people set up tents everywhere. And it's you got to look at pictures. You really have to be there to see it. But I mean, there's people just red and blue, so deep everywhere. I mean, can't move. And just people, they have their chandeliers up in their tents and all their food out. I mean, it's it's really something.
Okay. You're obviously enjoying the college experience there, and being able to obviously play a really tough SEC, play in a really tough conference. The SEC, you're playing, like you said, Alabama, Auburn, LSU. You're really going up against the best. You're a senior now, and looking back on just the level of competition, there really are no off weeks or off tournaments. I mean, every tournament is a strict test.
Yes, sir. I mean, you can't really slack off too much, especially last year when we played every tournament was the SEC fields. I mean, that was it was competitive. I mean, you had the number 1 player in the world there and like the number 3 player in the world there every week.
So you just picked up your 3rd win of your collegiate career at the White Sands tournament in the Bahamas. So you are a senior at this point, and of course we're going to dive into the complexities of PGA Tour U and also having a COVID year that you could potentially use. But, as you're as we stand right now, you're ranked number 8 in PGA Tour ranking. This is something that's fantastic for college golf. It provides it provides seniors with basically a blueprint of, or a very consistent way for them to look at where they stand and what is waiting for them after they get out of college. So, as a lot of people know, the top 5 that finish in PGA Tour U get Korn Ferry Tour status for the following year, and then 6 through 15 get either a Latin America card or a Mackenzie Tour card. So the best 15 seniors of the college season are going to be guaranteed a place to play. That being said, you had a great fall season, not just you personally, but the team. I think you could probably say this is your best fall season since you've been at Ole Miss. You guys picked up a third place finish at the Blessings, Arkansas's home tournament. That's always a very strong field and a very challenging golf course. Had some good performance at the SEC match play at Shoal Creek, and then the team wins at White Sands, along with you picking up the individual. All of that being said, what I'm kind of leading towards is you have to kind of think about what you're doing with the team, but also how everything applies to you personally. What has this fall season been like for you, kind of keeping both of those things in your mind at the forefront?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, to have a good team only makes each player better. I mean, people say you're only as good as people around you, and we've been so competitive this year and qualifying. I mean, we had a freshman win all 4 qualifiers.
Damn.
Right before the first tournament, so. And we have some other players playing really well, and it's just an awesome environment.
And you got Evan Brown as a transfer, so I mean, how much fun is that guy on the team?
Yeah, he's been great. He's been playing well too, and just adds another layer of depth to the team that we kind of need, and he's been awesome.
Obviously, you have some decisions to make in the next few months. You do have the ability to come back for another year, which would mean you would forego the spot you have right now in PGA Tour U. I don't think we're going to break any news on this episode of you telling me what your decision is going to be, whether or not this will be your final season at Ole Miss or if you're going to come back. So we're not going to push you into that decision right here and right now. But it is something that you have to weigh, and maybe that's something that listeners or people that follow college golf aren't aware of, that there is, there is a little bit of a complicated nature to it. Do you kind of know what you're looking for before you make that decision?
I'm still trying to figure out those questions I need to ask myself on kind of whether I want to stay another year or go, and still trying to figure all that out with my family and my coaches. But there's things out there you got to think about, things that I didn't even know you have to think about yet. Still trying to figure it all out.
Because, I mean, it's not just how you're playing. It's just, do you want to continue going to school? There's all these different things. So it's kind of a complicated season for you right now. I mean, it's successful. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh my gosh, the world's crashing down, but it's not just, this is not just like a junior or sophomore season for you.
No, they're both incredible options though. And so yeah. I know I can't make an awful decision.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to, one of the things we're doing with this episode, which you're well aware of, a lot of people follow the Back of the Range on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you and I chatted last week before we were going to do this conversation today. And I said, hey, what do you think? Why don't we open this up a little bit to people that follow and see if they have any questions for you? And we obviously did that. And a lot of questions came in and a lot of interesting ones came in. So we're going to kind of jump in and see what some of the people wanted to ask you. And I guess the first one, we'll get this one right out of the way. We kind of knew this one was coming. People want to know what kind of clubs you're playing and what's in the bag. So before I let you answer that question, I haven't had a lot of that here at the Back of the Range just because, look, they're all, for the most part, I'm speaking to collegiate players, amateurs, and what you say right now may be different in a week or in a month or in a year. So everyone, take this with a grain of salt. This is what Jackson's currently playing. But not just telling you about the brand of clubs you're playing, I'd actually like you to walk through the setup of what your bag looks like and why you have it that way. Do you have a 2-iron? Do you have 4 wedges? Things like that. So you can give us the name brand, but can you also explain the setup of your bag and why you have it set up that way?
Sure. We'll go top down. I have a TS3 driver, and I like the driver. I've used the same one for like 3 or 4 years. I used the old one, and then TSI 2 3-wood, and then I go to the 2-iron. I love that U500. That's like my favorite club in the whole bag. I love it off the tee. Just it goes straight and far,
That
which
works.
that's a good combo. But I like hitting that club, and then I go T100 irons all the way through, and then I go 46 degree, 50, 50, or 46, 50, 56, 60 Vokey wedges, and then I have a round back Scotty Cameron.
Okay, so your title is through the bag.
Yes, sir.
And so you mentioned 2-iron is really strong, and you go 4 wedges. Have you ever had has this been kind of consistent with your setup for your amateur career, or?
Yes, for the most part. I've gone 2-iron, 4-iron.
Gotcha. Perfect. Some of your fellow SEC colleagues have also chimed in, which I kind of knew was coming as well. Our buddy and actually, former guest on the podcast, Segundo Oliva Pinto from Arkansas.
Gosh.
I know. I knew this would be good. I didn't know if it was going to be good for you, but I knew it was coming. So Segundo from Arkansas would like for you to talk about the rivalry between Ole Miss and Arkansas.
Yeah, there's a rivalry there for sure, and a friendship. I mean, we've gotten close with all the guys, and Mr. Tyson's been great with us, and he's let us stop and play the Blessings before on the way to Stillwater.
Nice.
To play regionals, and so we got to play with them, and Coach McMakin and him had us out, and so we've gotten to play plenty with them, and we've had some matches out of the tournament too with each other, out of tournaments that have been fun.
Who won the last match between you and Segundo?
I don't know. He had 2 putters in the bag. I figured out on number 7 when he started making 30-footers after missing some 5-footers. We had a different one, so we'll leave that out there and see what he has to say.
How many clubs did he have in the bag that day? About 18, 22? What was it?
I think it's 15 in Spanish. 15.
Wow. This is a bilingual episode. I didn't realize we were going to do all that. So 15 clubs in the bag. All right. That's not, we'll see if hopefully that doesn't happen to him at like a real tournament. That's not going to work.
He said he wasn't using his 4-iron though, and I believe him.
Okay. All right. Flexible with the rules. Love it. We also have another question from an SEC guy, Hunter Walcott from Tennessee. Haven't had him on the podcast yet, but I feel that day is coming. I don't know. You
need to.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much golf we're going to talk about. I think it's just going to be a seminar on facial hair strategy going into the postseason, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about golf. But
he's got plenty to talk about for that.
Exactly. Yeah, that guy. There's a lot going on there. He would like to know if anyone in the SEC has taken you down on your home course, Palmacia. I feel that there's a story there that maybe you're going to need to get into that you're not going to want to get into, but I feel that there's something there.
Okay, so me and him,
that's awesome. You're like, all right, here's.
I was nice enough to invite him out to play because he was in Tampa visiting his brother, and we played match play. And I missed a 3-footer or 4-footer on the last hole to beat him. So we ended up tying. But he said he beat me stroke play, which we weren't playing stroke play. He beat me by that. So I wasn't even keeping track of that. But that's his claim to fame right now is beating me in stroke play when we were playing match play.
So let me see. So let me see if I get this straight. You got one guy that has 15 clubs in the bag. You got another guy that changes the rules of the match at the very end to make it, work out for him. Do you need honest people to play golf with? Because I could
Yeah,
get you.
I need to start bringing Kyle from the FSGA around with me just to start calling penalties on people. They keep trying to pull all this stuff on me.
You need a rules official with you. I understand.
Yes, sir.
So speaking of Kyle, Kyle DiGiacobi, he's director of, director of men's golf. He's got a business card at the FSGA. We'll just leave it at that. He wants to know. He asked if you've had any opportunity to shoot around in the 50s out at Paul Mesilla. Any chance you've broken 60 out there?
Yes, sir. I have shot 59 out there twice.
All right, that sounds okay. Let's explain. Well, first of all, so is it par 71 or 70?
It's par 70 and 6,300. So it's not, it's gettable.
Yeah. Anyone can. Yeah, that's nothing. Anyone can shoot 11 under out there. Sure. Okay. Yeah. I think it's actually, for people listening, it's a little bit more impressive to do that than maybe just to bomb it. So you're just basically knocking down flags all day and just things are going great.
Yes. Sending driver all day.
Okay.
There's only 2 holes out there I don't hit driver on. Or actually 3 tee shots I don't hit driver on. But I heated up quickly that day, and I had a good front 9 and kind of put myself in a good position for the first one.
Nice. Mike Smith plays a lot of FSGA stuff. He runs runs for college. It's really a great program that preps high school kids and juniors for their college experience. He would like to know best college event you've played in and why.
I can't really narrow it down to one, but I mean the Bahamas tournament we played last was awesome, and then BA's tournament in Cabo is always incredible.
Yeah,
and I mean the SEC championship's always great, and Mr. Tyson's tournaments at Blessings are always great. So there's a top 4 right there.
That works.
They just run well, and the people behind them really care, and that's what means the most and makes a tournament is when the people running it care and they put their all into it.
Yeah, I think that's important that you mention and state it that way. A lot of people focus on, what type of golf courses you get to play and the competition. You're going to find competition anywhere you go. And yes, there are great golf courses out there, but just what you said, it makes a huge difference when you play a tournament where you're being taken care of and that not only the officials and the people running the tournament, but this doesn't get said enough. You need to have the membership of the golf course excited to see college golf at their club, don't you?
You have to have people want to have you there,
right?
Not over giving up our course, which they do have to sacrifice the course for a couple of days, which is, I mean, people don't like doing that, especially when they're paying lots of money to have the privilege to play there. But when people are inviting and accepting and want you to be there and they want to see young kids play golf, I mean, that means a lot.
Another question that came up, and I love this one. This is from Ty Boone. He's a follower of the podcast. I believe he's got to be. I think he's a junior golfer, but I love this one. Give me a little bit of a difference, or explain the difference in the setup of maybe golf courses or tournaments in high school versus college. Because, we got a lot of kids that play high school and maybe they don't know what to expect when they get to the next level. So, what have you seen coming from very competitive high school golf experience to a very competitive college golf experience?
It's not much of a distance.
Okay.
Difference. I'd say it's more the courses are, I mean, you start to play a little more competitive or tougher courses when you get to college, just because, I mean, the tougher courses are normally the nicer ones, and people, people, like the PGA Tour plays the best and nicest courses and hardest courses, and then it kind of trickles down to college and junior golf, I feel like. And so you just start to play tougher courses, and then the pins are always, in junior golf, you might play, most of the pins are 6-7 paces off the green, and you get to college, you look at it, you don't see anything less than more than 3 or 4 paces off the side of the green, and you just have to play smarter and kind of learn that you're not aiming at every single pin, that you're trying to kind of give yourself chances at 2-putt pars and maybe hope some birdies fall and tear par fives.
So you're learning more about course management and maybe having to be a little bit more mature and more conservative when you get to that level where obviously the pins are they're tucked.
Yes, sir.
One final question that came in from a former guest on the podcast, Angus Flanagan, who played at Minnesota. He's now moved on to the professional ranks, but he had like the first question in, and it's from something that happened at the Patriot All America, which is going to be your final tournament of 2021 out in Arizona. I need to ask you about that. I believe you were runner-up last year. Does that sound about right?
A couple years back.
So talk to me. This was not a very well crafted question, but something about a lucky chip that ricocheted off some bird shit. Is that ring a bell at all?
Yeah, he didn't. There was no rules violation here, so I'll put that out there.
Oh, okay. So perfect.
He's actually the only honest one out of the three.
Shots fired.
But it was a Patriot, and I think it was like the last 3 holes. We both weren't playing great. I think he's played a little better than me, but we were kind of in contention going into the day and hadn't played well. And we just were like, okay, let's have a match the last 3 holes and just have a little competitive fun. And on 17 there, he was left of the green and he chipped it. And there was like it was probably a foot high. And there was a huge piece of goose junk. And it knocked it and kicked it back on line and went in.
Okay.
But he ended up saying, you know what, it's fine. We'll call it a tie.
You're right. Angus is a pretty honest guy. So
yeah, we like Angus.
Yeah, oh yeah. So talking about the Patriot, we're going to get you out of here. This is really one of the just a fantastic tournament that is held out in Arizona. It's really right up against New Year's Eve. And, it's obviously much more than just the golf. It really is a testament to their devotion to honoring the armed forces. I have not been out to this tournament yet. It's definitely something on my radar for 2022. Talk to me, and you've as we just said, you've played in it before.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about, they're big supporters of the back of the range. Talk to me about what makes that tournament so special. We started this episode off with, everyone's kind of dealing with a little bit of fatigue. This is the time of year where you kind of shut it down. You spend time with family during Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays, and you're kind of trying to get ramped up for the spring season because, once you get back to school, it's all systems go. What makes this tournament so important for you that you would want to have that on your schedule?
I'm actually not playing it this year. I'm going to visit some family after Christmas up in North Florida. But I've played it 3 times, and it's been an incredible experience every single time. And the people there that run it, the Golf Coach Association, the West Valley Mavericks, just everyone at the course, they want you to be there. And kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like it's just you feel wanted there, and they take you out to the Air Force Base, and you get to see these planes. And I mean, it's just an incredible feel. And there's stands normally on the 18th and 16th hole and 12th hole. I mean, there's probably 300 people out there watching.
Yeah, I
think they sell these drink tickets that are unlimited drinks, and so they get a lot of spectators for that out there.
I think,
but it's cool that
it's like a sister tournament with the Gasparilla. Do they like read the playbook from the Gasparilla?
Basically,
nice.
And they got music blaring on the 18th hole while you're putting. I mean, it's just a really cool feel, and it's like a waste management feel. That's kind of what they shoot for.
Nice. I'll get you out of here on this one. Not playing Patriot, but really kind of one of the unique starts to a spring season. It isn't even a college event. It's the Jones Cup at Sea Island, Ocean Forest. My first experience there last year. I think that's when you and I first started. I first started seeing you quite a bit, and then we all know about the weather that you get at Ocean Forest, where most people would think, oh my gosh, it's going to be gorgeous weather. People that are watching the RSM just saw some fantastic weather. Well, Jones Cup, we're probably going to get a day of miserable weather. But talk to me a little bit about how much you're looking forward to going back to Ocean Forest.
Yeah, I mean, that course is awesome, and that's a tournament where the staff and the members really want you there. And I mean, that's one of the most elite amateur events out there, and you always get the best players, and you really got to have 3 solid days to win out there. And they do a great job, and the weather is always challenging. It brings out the best player by the end of the week.
Well, I will definitely I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing you there, and go enjoy the rest of the year, time with family, friends, trying to get yourself lined up for a successful spring. And glad we got to do this. Appreciate you stopping by the back of the range, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Jackson Suber for joining me on this episode here at the Back of the Range. Don't forget, follow along on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Every episode is available at thebackoftherange.com. We'll see you next time here at the Back of the Range.